It seems like the chair is muted. We can't hear you online. Oh, thank you.
Sorry about that. Sorry, but start over. I'm sorry.
Well, it wasn't that interesting.
And I have a reminder to myself, remember to unmute. All right, now let's start again.
Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the January 10th, 2024 full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 6. It's a new year and we have lots to do. Let's get started. My name is Sandy McKee and I'm the chair of CB6. This meeting is called to order at second time around, I got it right? It's now 7:04 p.m. Tonight, we are joined by Secretary Livia Shrednick, District Manager Jesus Perez, Assistant District Manager Brendan Bird, and Community Coordinator Brian Lafferty. New York state law requires all community board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their names on and their cameras and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. We have the following ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Wait for me to recognize you prior to making your motion or comment. It is important that only one person speaks at a time so that members of the public at home can understand what is being said. Please wait until you are in front of a mic to speak, as we've heard feedback from viewers at home and even in-person attendees that our meetings are hard to hear at times. The chat function should only be used to alert us of any technical difficulties you're having or to state in writing that has already been stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Members of the public, if you wish to give remarks during the public session and have not already registered by filling out a form, you can register to speak in the public session on Zoom using the Q&A feature of Zoom and posting your name, your affiliation, and what specific topic you wish to speak about. Or if you're here in person and want to speak in the public session, you need to fill out the public speaker form, which is near the sign-ins for this CB6 newsletter, and this needs to be done by 7:15.
It was off. And there's some folks having trouble hearing in the back.
Oh, okay, can you hear me now? The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office, was posted online, and appears on the screen for you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Board members, if you object to adopting the agenda, you may raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. We're trying something new tonight, and Brendan is going to do the roll call, but he'll take attendance by roll call.
Okay, we will now take attendance by roll call. Board members, when your name is called, please say present. Majed Abdul-Samad. Kyle Thai. Neil Barclay. Marty Barrett.
Present.
Elvie Barroso. Claire Brennan.
Present.
Okay. Jim Collins.
Here.
John DeRico.
Present.
Stu Desser.
Present.
Mike Devereaux. Mike Devereaux. Pete Isman.
Present.
Rob Friedman. Jason Promise.
Present.
Eric Goldberg. Gerald Jones. Gerald Jones. Paige Judge.
Present.
Rupal Katad. Don Heller.
Present.
Nat Kalani.
Present.
Abigail Cruzmark. Abigail Cruzmark. Sandra Leftoff. David Lowenstein. Lowenstein. Anton Mullen.
Present.
Sandy McKee.
Present.
Bruce Mitz.
Present.
Raj Nayar. Raj Nayar. Kevin O'Keefe. Steve O.
Present.
Rachel Cattell. Stephen Perez.
Present.
Miriam Rowe.
Present.
Matt Roberts.
Present.
Roberto Ruiz Melendez.
Present.
Larry Shire.
Present.
Ann Sullivan. Sandra Sherrod.
Present.
Lydia Shrednick. Betty Simon. I do see Letty here, so I'm counting Letty as present.
I'm here, present.
Yep. Susan Steinberg. Mark Thompson. Gabe Terzo. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Matthew Weintraub. Matthew Weintraub. Haider Zaidi. Haider Zaidi. We have a quorum.
Great. Our elected officials sent over their reports ahead of time, and you can find all of the reports that were submitted on the CD6 website. The link to the reports was disseminated ahead of time for all board members and the general public, and for your convenience, it can be found in the chat on Zoom. Those attending in person can find the link by going to our website page for full board meetings. The elected officials who have RSVP will take questions from CD6 members and the public about their pre-submitted reports. Each elected official will have 1 minute to field questions. And if an elected official has time-sensitive matter that didn't make it into their pre-submitted report, they will have 3 minutes to do so now. During this part of the meeting, you will also hear from government agency representatives who have requested to address the board tonight. And is State Senator Gonzalez here? She requested to go first.
Don't see her.
Okay, we'll go ahead with Baraka Rosenberg from VP Levine's office.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if there are any questions, but I just wanted to flag just to look at our report at the section where we announced our plan to increase psychiatric beds and psychiatric care teams to break the cycle of our mental health crisis in Manhattan. I think it will really go a long way towards improving a lot of the issues that we have in our neighborhoods, including opioid use and homelessness and in general the mental health crisis. So I just want to encourage everyone to take a look at our plan there because we just unveiled this. There's a piece in the New York Times about it, and I think it has a lot of promise.
Great. Any questions? Larry? Brian, can you give Larry the microphone, please?
It's impressive. Is it ambitious enough? Are there going to be enough beds?
Yeah, so I think we did a lot of research into what the capacities are currently for the city, and they're so low, it's unbelievable. So I think the first step is to really, do what we can add. I mean, we're going to be, at least tripling the number of beds, probably more. I think we're calling for 400 something beds in total. And I think, we have to see how that goes before we can, just take thousands, because we've also been in situations in the city where we've had too many beds that aren't being used. But I think this is a really, the first step is really to address this, to say that we don't have the capacity that we need, and to address that capacity and then see what else we need.
Any other questions? Do we know when the applications are going to be open for community board members?
Yes, if it's not live already, it will be live very soon. We'll also be sending out an email, I'm sure, with all that information. But
Great. We're looking forward to having new members.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Is Senator Gonzalez available?
Oh, yes, apologies. It's been back to back. Are folks able to see me and hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I appreciate all of you having me here again tonight. Apologies for being late. It's been very back to back. As we're back in session now, so Happy New Year. As you all know, with January also comes the start of our legislative session. And this week, our governor gave her state of the state, which for folks who are still learning about the budget process, which would make a lot of sense because it's a very long process in Albany, really kicks off the start of our budget. And it begins with her statement of values and statement of what she will be putting forth in her official executive version of the budget, which will be received by the legislature on the 16th. So some of the things that she highlighted that I think are important to put on all of your radar and things that we'll be looking to work with her on, of course, include housing, which means more affordable housing throughout the city and the state. Health. So she really emphasized mental health and ensuring that we're meeting the mental health crisis we're seeing in the city, both in our young people, but also, mental health crises we see in our communities every day, whether it's on the subway or, on the sidewalk, making sure that there's more places to treat folks and more beds available. She also spoke to cannabis and really regulating and ensuring that we are decreasing the number of illegal shops that we've seen, and is certainly an issue in this community. It's also something the legislature, of course, has been talking a lot about, but it's exciting to see her highlight that as a priority because right here in CB6, we know that's something that we would really benefit from. She made a number of other announcements, including for our committee and where I will be leading on internet and technology, announcements around investments for AI, and regulating government use of AI, which is specifically around a bill that my office introduced at the end of last session. So those are some of the things she outlined. I'm happy to talk more about it. And if folks have any questions about this year's budget, please approach our office. Again, we have Peyton from my team on tonight. And so she's always here. We're always here to talk more about it. As far as our own office updates go, we have a casino town hall tomorrow night from 6 to 8 p.m. at NYU Dental. This is really an opportunity to hear from all of you and members of our Midtown community about how we're feeling about this casino. I know this board has is a part of the program. We'll be presenting on the resolution that you passed. And I think that's really important because we have over 600 RSVPs, which means a lot of our neighbors are going to be hearing. And so folks who may not have heard about the resolution before, this is a really good opportunity to not only learn about CB6, who knows, maybe we'll get some new board members from there, but also really understand the process and logic behind that. So I'm really excited to see those of you who are able to join us tomorrow night, see you at the town hall. I would definitely encourage you to feel free to share our Zoom link with any of your friends, neighbors, or colleagues who may be interested. The final thing I'll add, I just want to make sure that I'm mindful of time, but also happy to answer questions, is we have been meeting around the Mount Sinai Beth Israel closure. So today we had a coalition call with some of the electeds on this call, including Senator Krueger, who I believe I see here. And we have been working to ensure that not only are we building on the win of the cease and desist by the Department of Health to Mount Sinai Beth Israel around closing their services, but also building on that by meeting with the executive, so meeting with the governor's office to ensure that they're aligned that this community cannot handle a hospital closure, and that Manhattan broadly would be deeply affected by the closure of a hospital. So we are continuing work there, and we'll definitely keep this board updated as we fight the timeline of July for that closure. So I'll stop here, but again, happy to answer questions about any of these topics.
Jim, you have a question?
Hi, good evening, Senator. I believe it was last month or perhaps the month before that, we passed a resolution that would allow community boards to elect at their option to meet via Zoom And we have an assembly sponsor, and Jesus has been kind of quarterbacking this. I'm wondering if you would join in on the Senate side to co-sponsor that legislation, perhaps with our other senator for this community this year. The second question is, you mentioned affordable housing. There was an article in Cranes this week about how insurance premiums are causing a number of rental properties and co-ops and I believe some condos to go bankrupt because of the high cost of insurance premiums. From what I understand, the going rate is a 30% increase in insurance premiums. Depending on the situation, I'm wondering what you and your colleagues in Albany are doing to address that. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm happy to follow up to see if there's any existing legislation around insurance premiums, and it's something I'll have our legislative director look into. If there is, very curious. I'm happy to bring that back to the board, and would love to hear more about what you all would like to see happen there. But did not have the governor mention that as part of her state of the state. And I don't think I see that as part of the initial document that they released. So can also see if, not only there's existing legislation, but if that's something that the executive is taking on with their current housing plan. And to your first point around a virtual option for community boards, this is something that we've been talking about for a long time. And it's something that is a frustration for every single community board that we overlap with in this district. So appreciate the leadership of this board. I'm happy to carry the bill in the Senate, but of course I'll defer to the assembly sponsor to identify the right Senate partner. Usually how prime sponsors for a bill, so who introduces the bill in their chamber, are determined is by whose committee it would be in. So depending on what committee this bill would go to or be referred to once introduced in the Senate, I think, I would definitely understand if the assembly member wants to work directly with that senator. But I don't believe it would go into technology. So that's why I do defer. That said, even if, although I'm happy to be a prime sponsor, even if we work with the right committee chair, I am happy to co-sponsor and happy to also make sure that we're getting additional co-sponsors on the Senate side, because I think we can get a lot of momentum around this bill since so many community boards have, throughout the city have expressed the same frustration. So more to come there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all so much. Happy New Year again. Take care.
Next is Brian McNamara from AM, Assembly Member Boris's office.
Hi, so it's Lola here. So first I want to introduce myself. I'm the new Constituent Services and Operations Director for Assemblymember Boras, and if you guys have called the office already, I'm sure you've heard my voice and you'll see me around at events, and I'm really excited to be helping out on this. And now I'm going to get into what the highlights are for tonight. So the first highlight is that Governor Hochul signed into law Assemblymember Boris's bill adding 20 judges across New York City and New York State. And this means that all 6 of Assemblymember Boris's bills from the 2023 session to pass the state legislature have now become law. The second one is in the governor's state of the state agenda, she endorsed Assemblymember Boris's proposal to eliminate the cap on New York Supreme Court justices. The proposed constitutional amendment, which was introduced last session as the No Cap Act, and was also picked up by Senator Brad Hoylman Siegel, would amend the New York State Constitution to strike a provision which was added in 1925 and limits the amount of New York Supreme Court justices in any given jurisdiction by population. And this is really important because without this amendment, Manhattan will never be able to add another Supreme Court justice, and the immense case backlog facing the courts will only continue to grow. And now kind of coming back to our district-specific things. So the State of the District Address is on Sunday, January 21st. It's his first, and it's 11 days. It'll be at Hunter College, and we're really excited about that. And if you want to RSVP, the link is in the what we forwarded. And I'm happy if you call the office or email me to forward that to you if you have any other questions about that. And then our fourth and last update is on our community events. And since the last meeting, the Assembly member has hosted a computer science education week with Microsoft, Code.org, Teach AI, and Tech NYC. He also joined the Turtle Base Association for the 37th annual toy drive. He celebrated the holidays all over the 73rd district, which includes hot cocoa and caroling with the Sutton Place Conservancy, Hanukkah celebrations with AJC at the Australian and Polish consulates, and the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association tree lighting. And that's all the updates from us.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? All right, thank you so much. And we're going to go on to Robin Frost from the mayor's office.
Hello, Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you. Congratulations, Sandy, on your election, and I hope we'll have a chance to speak offline sometime soon. A few things. One, I don't know how many of you are familiar with a piece of legislation that was passed by the city council recently. It was Bill 586. 586A. There was another one, 549A, but it is a bill that would require police officers to document any contact with a civilian for level 1 engagement, and it will require time to file that report. The kind of things that are disappointing, potentially disappointing, include things like if a police officer is searching for a missing child and approaches people around the neighborhood as to whether or not they've seen the child. Each one of those inquiries would require a report. So the mayor's has said that he thinks that it will make the city less safe, and we'll see what happens with that. In better news, at least from our perspective, there's been some budget management that has led to a new class at the police academy this year, and also funding to go to FDNY so that there will be a 5th firefighter at 20 of the firehouses around the city, which is a very good safety thing. I was excited to tell you about some new technology for snow removal, but so far, I guess we really haven't had a chance to use it. But there's a new high-tech, new generation technology that will centralize and allow better management of the sanitation department in the snow removal. It's called Blade Runner 2.0. And let's hope we have a chance to use it. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anne?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm curious about the status of what's going on with budget cuts.
Yes.
Particularly, one of the things I had heard was that Parks was kind of getting a double whammy because it's getting, and Kevin may be able to say this better, but that the Parks budget is getting a 5% cut at least, but that there's also a cut that comes from like kids that might be doing internships, and that program has been bit, like something that Parks uses a lot, and it has
You mean
been,
that the program has been cut? Is that what you said? It's a little hard to hear you.
yes.
Okay.
Kevin, is that accurate?
I don't have the latest information on cuts to the Parks Department nor about the internship program, but I will be happy to look into it and I can get back to Jesus, who can in turn get back to you if that's okay with you and with Jesus.
That's fine. Is there anything you can say about the budget cuts in general? Like that's a
Well,
big-
in general, you know, there has been a need to cut the budget, unfortunately, because of the expenses incurred in large measure from the influx of migrants and the lack of support from both the state and the federal governments. As you all know, we've been bearing the brunt of the bills associated with that. We are a sanctuary city. And, you know, most recently, there has been an effort to limit the stays of migrants in the HERCs, the health and hospital facilities that are usually housed in hotels. The Row Hotel, which is located in Midtown, had a fairly large number of families that were moved out yesterday. My understanding is that they went to the Roosevelt Hotel and are hoping to get new assignments with a big effort to keep the children in the same schools that they're in. But it's been a big hit, and I think that there's been some good fiscal management, which has allowed for increasing the fire department, number of firefighters in the firehouses, and that we have a new class of police officers who will come online in October.
Great, thank you very much. We're going on to Joanna Sanchez from Assemblymember Epstein's office.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. So we are having an upcoming town hall meeting that will be on Thursday, January 18th, from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And I will be including that in the chat. And in addition to this, I'll be including, if anyone wants to RSVP as well, I'll include the information. And if anybody else has any questions or concerns, I will include my information in the chat.
Great. Do we have any questions? Yeah, Jared?
What is the theme of the town?
Oh, that's a great question. So the theme of the town hall will include the campaign to save Beth Israel Hospital and New York Eye and Ear. Also proposed Life Science Hub on First Avenue and 25th Street, improving public safety and expanding housing justice.
And actually, CB6 will be represented at that.
Yes,
town.
thank you.
Any other questions? Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Eric Straza from DA Bragg's office.
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the holidays. I have a few quick highlights from our newsletter, and then one thing that I didn't get to include in the newsletter that I wanted to emphasize for everybody. The highlights from the newsletter included our high school summer internship opening up our applications next week. In addition, we announced the introduction of the Hate Crimes Modernization Act, which basically expands the number of crimes and charges that we can consider potentially hate-based or hate crimes. But the thing I really wanted to highlight relates to our Clean Slate briefing, because it's an upcoming event that's open to the community and everyone throughout the borough. It's taking place in Harlem, and it'll basically just allow a platform for the community to come and discuss Clean Slate legislation, which, if you don't know, automatically clears eligible records for people who have completed qualifying sentences and remained crime-free. There will be a bunch of different city agencies there where people can come and ask questions. The DA himself will be speaking along with some members of the city council. And there will also be public defenders there as well for people to come and get a free and confidential legal advice about their specific cases. That'll take place on Wednesday, January 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the First Corinthian Baptist Church in Harlem, located on 1912 Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard. And the last thing that I wanted to mention for everyone is that we've seen recently a really large uptick in phone scams, and not the phone scams everyone is probably familiar with, where you're getting spam calls or things like that on your phone. We're seeing a lot of people finding ways to engineer kind of entrance into one's phone in person. So whether it's asking for donations or they are, finding ways to memorize your password and then stealing your phone so they can access your financial accounts and payment platforms as well. So I wanted to make everyone aware, first, just to make sure it's on everyone's radar, but also we put out we have virtual and physical palm cards, which have good things to do to protect your phone in case you want to increase security to prevent this from happening, but also what to do if you do find yourself a victim of one of these crimes, like contacting financial institutions, freezing your credit, and things like that. I think that's it. Happy to answer any questions, and also happy to send flyers or virtual flyers for anyone who wants to help get the word out about anything that I mentioned. Thanks so much.
Do we have any questions? No, great. Thank you very much. Next, I have Justin Flagg from Senator Krueger's office.
Hello, just quickly wanted to follow up on something Senator Gonzalez mentioned, which is the state budget process, just to quickly give folks an overview, because I think it's helpful to be informed or reminded if you already know about the process. But as the senator mentioned, the governor will release her executive budget on the 16th next week. And starting on January 23rd, Senator Krueger, as chair of the Finance Committee, will be hosting about a dozen budget hearings throughout the month of February up in Albany. Those are all-day affairs on every aspect of the budget, where the legislators can ask questions of the state agencies and hear testimony from the public as well. That is followed in early March by both houses of the legislature passing what's called their one-house budget resolutions, which is their response to the executive's budget. And then throughout March, there are the three-way negotiations to land on a final budget, which theoretically should be passed by April 1st. So just wanted to give you a sort of a broad overview of what's coming. Obviously, the budget is probably the single most critical thing that we pass in Albany in any given year. It contains obviously all our spending and a significant amount of policy as well every year. So it's a good thing to keep an eye on. Other than that, happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions? No, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Julio Rivas from from Council Member Rivera's office.
Actually, here in person.
Oh my gosh.
That should be the only one. Turn the mic on.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hey, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Julio Rivas. I'm Councilmember Colleen Oliveira's office. Just going to give you a little bit of some of the highlights. Our session did come to an end last year in December. And we finished with passing major legislation. City Council passed a ban on solitary confinement in city jails. It was a 2-year process that the council member started when she became chair of the Criminal Justice Committee, and she was able to accomplish that in the 2-year session that we had. And we just were really happy to know all the partners and advocates who helped the office. We also want to give an update on Beth Israel, like the senator had mentioned. Council member has been rallying city agencies, asking for more information about this. The service cuts, right? We know that compared to other parts of Manhattan, our communities, we have a lower bed count per 1,000 capita. So this is something that the council member takes very seriously, and this is something that she worked on when she was chair of hospitals committee in her previous term, and she saved it back in 2016. So we're back here, and she's gonna continue to fight to make sure that we have a hospital accessible to all. We also want to thank everybody who donated to our diaper drive last month. We gave over 1,000 diapers to Bellevue, and we want to give a shout out to Mary Hill Academy. They were awesome, and they brought lots of donations. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
May not have an answer for this, but I'm aware that there's now a fine for Beth Israel making some services unavailable. I'm wondering whether or not they are reversing course or just paying the fine or even funding.
Yeah, so we're still waiting for more details on that. That was part of the cease and desist letter sent by the State Department that they would be fined for any services or beds lost. We have asked more information and we're waiting for that. So feel free to reach out to our office and we can provide you the updates as we get them. We have an email list that we're sending out to folks who want to have those updates as well. So.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in person.
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. And I think we have, Jesus, we have some additional people. Tevin Williams from, is that Representative Dan Gold?
Joining you online. It's so nice to see everyone. I know we have, as I say many times, a small piece of CV6, but I definitely want to let you all know that I'm still here and accessible and available to all of you. I love your system of how you do your community boards. I don't have anything to add. I apologize for not getting it to you a little bit earlier today, but I do just want to say Happy New Year to all of you. And it's good to see all of you in this new year, back and refreshed and ready to serve your communities. And the Congressman is thankful for all your hard work. I just want to name two quick things. The Congressman did ask with Congresswoman Lori Trahan and 114 other lawmakers to add $1.6 billion to the Health and Human Services LIHEAP program, which is the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. This will help over 1 million New Yorkers across New York State that can't afford their energy bill each year. So we're asking for $1.6 billion to be added at the federal level to help with that program. And then secondly, as many of you have seen, there has been just so many mass shootings across our country. We just introduced a bill with Congresswoman Robin Kelly called the Federal Firearms Licensee Act just last week. This legislation will update the sections in the U.S. Code directed at federal firearms licensees and anyone who facilitates gun sales, gun shops, gun shows, and websites. That's all I have for me. Just two quick updates. You'll see our community board report, which I apologize again for getting to you a little bit late, but I will keep being your liaison here as I'm now in Brooklyn, but still working with all my Manhattan community boards. So thank you so much, new chair. Congratulations. And I'll see all of you soon in person.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions? No, excellent. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Next we have Patrick Hill from Councilmember Power's office.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year as well. And congrats to you, Sandy, as well as all the other new board officers that are there. Appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing and are going to do. I don't have any additional updates aside from the report that our office submitted, but I'd be happy to take any questions.
Do we have any questions? Great, you're off the hook. Thank you.
Have a good day. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
And next we have Hannah Weissman from Representative Nadler's office.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Wienerman from Congressman Jerry Nadler's office. I just have two quick updates that we put in the newsletter, the report to the board. So last week, all three major insulin manufacturers are offering a $35 a month cap or savings programs to only pay $35 for out-of-pocket costs for insulin. And then additionally, they are cutting list prices for many of their insulin products by 70% or more. And this was made possible with congressional Democrats acting to cap the price of insulin in the Inflation Reduction Act. The other thing that I wanted to flag is that many of you experience high wait times for passport application processing. So we got word that the processing times are kind of back to normal now. So the regular normal processing routine service takes about 6 to 8 weeks, and expedited service takes about 2 to 3 weeks. So if you were concerned about sending in your passport before, now's a good time to do it. I can pause here if there's any questions that people have. Otherwise, you can feel free to contact our office with any questions or concerns that you have at the federal level.
Susan?
Hi, in addition to the passport lag, the Trusted Traveler program is really way behind. It's been a year since I filed my renewal and I haven't heard. So that has to be looked into as well.
Yes, we're absolutely looking into it. We know that it's been an issue. We're trying to figure out the best way forward to advocate for constituents about this. So I'll circle back once we have an update, but it's something that we've been made aware of by many constituents.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Has anyone signed up to speak in the public session? Just,
Yep.
okay.
Yes, they have. We have 3 speakers. The first on the list is Michael Cohen, a resident of Community District 6, who wishes to speak to the board about more funding for accessible and affordable housing. Mr. Cohen, you have the floor for 3 minutes. You may begin your remarks now.
I feel there is not enough affordable housing in terms of new construction gets built in the neighborhood and just built in the community board district. Like, whenever you see new building coming up, you never see the mandatory inclusionary housing thing in it. And housing moderated that enables people to mix in more income to get an apartment. You see the market rate condos and rentals that many cannot afford. And I would like to be more of an incentive for the people who build the village developers to include affordable housing in their new construction and to ensure that there's more affordable housing flatbed in the private sector. And I'd also like to see greater accessibility in apartment buildings and buildings in general. I feel that like it's not enough just to have basic accommodations like elevators and access about steps and things like that. It's also important to have things like softer lighting and the people with disabilities. Things like lights instead of door connections included in doorbells and other alarms so that people who can't hear very well can have an idea that the alarm is going off and know that there's something they should be, that something is going wrong or that someone's at the door. And it's also important to ensure that all the buildings that were built before the current regulations put in place and have can make these funding to be retrofitted be more accessible to the general public and to allow more people to use services provided there and provide more employment and housing opportunities to people with disabilities. I think it's also important to like ensure that we're housing important to ensure that people have the resources to maintain their homes and that they continue to live there. And
All right, thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. That concludes your 3 minutes. Next on the list, we have Mr. Michael R. Murray, who is a resident of Community District 6 and wishes to speak to the board about the topic of congestion pricing. Mr. Murray, are you here in person? Mr. Murray going once, going twice. Don't see you online. Okay. Next on the speakers list is Michelle Winfield, a resident of Community District 6, who wishes to speak to the board in support of the Euler process and in support of the co-naming of the East Midtown Greenway along East 54th Street to 59th Street as Lou Sapersky Way. Mrs. Winfield, rather, you have the floor for 3 minutes. You may begin your remarks now.
Congratulations to Sandra McKee, Chair of Board 6, Manhattan, and newly elected officers. Also, I support the Euler process, which encourages community participation, and oppose the New York City Department of City Planning Gaming Facility text amendment proposal. The third item, as New York State Democratic Committee person of the 74th Assembly District, I commend Community Board 6 for bringing forth the proposal to co-name the East Midtown Greenway from 54th Street to 59th Street as Lou Sapersky Way. Lou and I spoke about all projects I brought before Manhattan Community Board 6. He was the expert. His name was listed in official documents as Manhattan Historians - Lou Sapersky, District Number 6 since 1999. From then on, I emailed and spoke to Lou on the telephone about secondary street projects I presented. While working on reparations for African Americans in New York State, I did not contact Lou because years ago, Lou Sapersky had provided me the history of Stuyvesant housing development designated for whites only. I use that information today. This co-naming in Lou Sapersky's honor is important. As the residents walk by, they will know in the future Lou Sapersky cherished his community and worked on its behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Winfield. That concludes the speakers list for tonight.
The minutes from the December 13th full board meeting are still being drafted. Once they have been drafted, they will be sent to the board for approval. The chair's report. We have many events coming up that will impact the community, and I hope that you can attend Senator Gonzalez's town hall on the East Side Casino tomorrow evening. I will be presenting CB6's resolutions on the issues. Next month, I will be able to report back on the first SPARK, the Science Park and Research Center task force that I am co-chairing with Keith Powers this month. We will hear more about the East Midtown Greenway that opened in December. Be sure to check it out. It's wonderful. It's got great views of the East River. There are some changes to our committees due to new members on the executive and some members leaving the board. I'm sad to announce that this is Mike Devereaux's last meeting. I don't see him here. I know he was going to try and attend. A huge thank you for his energy and thoughtful work on the board. Brian Van Nieuwenhoven has also left the board, although we hope he's going to join us on January 19th so we can say goodbye and thank him for his contributions to our community. We're taking on several new initiatives. CB6 has reached out to us to form a task force for MSBI, and there'll be more on that coming up next month. We are also taking on 2 other new initiatives. We are forming 2 working groups and they're being set up now. The first one will continue to work on the proposals for the FDR, which were started. Kyle and Majed have been working on those, and we'll be presenting their information soon. The second group is studying community building, and Sandra Leftoff is going to fill us in on this group, and Sandra. Yeah, there are three of us, very close. Yeah. We've got. Sandra is going to come up and explain this to us.
Should my,
you can use the mic. Give that to you. Here it is.
Hi, I spoke briefly about this issue, I guess, last spring, and we moved along with it, which is, it's the idea of, it's called the Neighbor to Neighbor program, in which, the idea of community building, can be enacted through our community board. I got started this during COVID when we were all stuck for too long a period of time. And it really came out in terms of the older people in the building. I live in a building which was really split by age, and you had young families and then older people. And there was a real need to reach out to people who are isolated over long periods of time, and there was no structure for it. So I thought what would be great is what I think of as the building as community, and how we think of ourselves as a community within a building, and how we can enact that. And so that's really the sort of the basis of what this idea would be. And we've spoken to a number of people here on the community board, and also to various of the government agencies. And there's a real interest in this, in keeping it within a building. There are many outreach programs that exist through churches and synagogues and so on, but to keep it within the building really hasn't been enacted. And so I'm hoping that we can work on this and form a working group to develop the idea and to begin to implement it. So partly I'm here to get volunteers. So I would be very happy to, if you're interested, contact me, and we can move on this. Okay, any questions?
Thank you very much. And is the borough president going to give an additional report, or? I guess we did have an initial report. Okay, we've arrived at our committee reports and resolution. Members of the public, please note that during this session of the meeting, we only recognize questions from members of the board. The CB6 staff emailed the digital ballot to all of our members. Please click on the email link to open the ballot, select your name from the drop-down list, and select your vote on each resolution as presented. Do not hit submit until later in the meeting after the final resolution has been presented. At the end of the meeting, please submit after you've indicated all of your votes on your ballot. You will not be able to submit the ballot unless you vote on every resolution. If you plan on abstaining, please select abstain. Final vote counts will be announced after the second roll call. If any part of the voting procedure is unclear, please raise your hand. I think we've all got this. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped Jesus' report. And Gabe's over eager. It's time management. I just listened.
Sandy's very clearly very keen to get to all the exciting resos that we have, so I'll be super brief. With the beginning of the year, it's a nice opportunity to remind people of the resources that we have at the CB6 website. Adoption among the board members of the resolution database is continuing to increase as the years go on. In fact, in December, I was asked by the Borough President's Office to give a presentation to Borough Board and to the Borough Service Cabinet regarding our wonderful resolution database that is becoming certainly the talk of the borough among community boards. Two other community boards, I will not call them out, but they have very good taste, have adopted our model. And so you can go around the other website to see which lucky boards they were. But there were a lot of oohs and ahs, and all the other community boards were completely enraptured by our lovely database and tracker. But what doesn't get a lot of attention is our database for minutes. Right on our homepage, we have a quick link bar, and we have a meeting minutes database that is similar to the database for resolutions, but you can group by committees, you can search by keyword. And one of the great things about this is that as we build it out, you're going to have access to the agenda, because once the meeting has passed on the calendar, the agenda goes away. This is a way of preserving that in case you wanted to. We had a member just a couple of weeks ago say, where was this thing discussed at that committee meeting? And, and I was like, well, I can send you right to the minutes database, and you can find the agenda, you can find the minutes, you can find the link to the recording of that meeting, and you can find the slide decks that were also presented there. More and more board members are starting to realize that this is a resource for them. So I just wanted to plug this a little bit, take some time, play around with it, and hopefully it will enrich the work that you do here. But I will stop there so that we can get on to the many exciting, the treasurer's report and the many exciting resolutions to come.
Apologies.
Okay, thank you. According to the Office of Management and Budget, as of January 1st, the CV6 budget is $976,000, 361, and that includes street fair money. Encumbered and liquidated money to date for rent is $174,000, $174,211. We have $125,036.16 allocated to personal services and $12,245.25 allocated to other than personal services. That leaves $264,868.59 in unencumbered funds. Thank you. Yeah.
Marty.
How much of the total is the street fair money?
It's a sizable portion. I'd have to get back to you.
The sunshine.
Fur coats for everyone.
Okay, we can now go on to resolutions. So first up, we have Land Use and Waterfront, Majed Abdul Samad as chair.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? All right. So for Land Use and Waterfront, we have 3 resolutions for tonight. Starting with 1A, it is a resolution opposing the New York City Department of City Planning gaming facility text amendment. Just as a reminder, this was part of the City of Yes, and then the city took it out. So this is only about the gaming facilities, that is the casino, and there's a lot of discussion on it in the committee. Unless anybody has any questions, we are opposing it as a board.
Marty?
Call the question.
Exactly.
The question has been called. Please mark your vote on your digital ballot for this resolution. I'm only going to say this once, do not hit submit. If you are not using the digital ballot, we will ask for your vote verbally after the second.
Right. While you're doing that, going straight to 1B. 1B is regarding the proposed City of Yes for Economic Opportunity zoning text amendment. Now, on that, I don't know if you, Jesus, you want to pull on the screen the resolution. There were minor edits from what was sent in the digital packet, just to clarify the phrasing of one sentence on line 43. I'll just single this. Or you see it highlighted on the screen. Thank you for calling this out. So basically, the Department of City Planning asks us to say whether we are favorable, conditionally favorable, conditionally unfavorable or unfavorable. They specified how we can weigh in on these. For this, you see line 44, 45, we're clarifying, we are conditionally favorable on 2 items, contingent on the modification that we listed. So we are in favor of what they're proposing, but we ask them to put more guardrails in place, and that's why this is conditional favorable. Otherwise, we have either favorable or unfavorable. Go ahead, Larry.
No, microphone for Larry.
Could you clarify what the 500-foot limit is for those who are not familiar with it?
That's existing. We are asking that for home occupation, when allowed to have some sort of business inside there, that the city is proposing to lift that limit. That means you can even hire more folks. We see it as a direct competition with housing, because that's an incentive for someone to buy a couple of apartments, open them up, and turn them into a business. We already have an issue with limited housing stock in our district. We don't think this is a good idea. That's why we're opposed. So we're in favor of what they're trying to do, as long as they don't lift that 500 square foot limit.
The version that we got differs in formatting. Is that just the only distinction?
It's
Looking at
that
the
one line.
image.
Yes. Thanks, Sue.
Anne?
I just wanna, add some props to whoever wrote this reso, because it is packed, but it's got all the information, and it's really concise, it's really well written, so thanks to whoever did that.
Majette.
I'll echo this for the whole committee, because we had to vote on 18 different components, so it was democracy at work. It was very good. So kudos to our whole committee.
I'm not talking about making decisions, I'm talking about the meeting.
It was a really nice job.
All right, there are no other questions.
Kyle? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Sandra seconds. Okay, please go ahead and mark your vote on your digital ballot.
All right, moving right along, the third and last from land use is a resolution endorsing the Department of Design and Construction plans to build restroom facility at Murphy Brothers Playground. The request for a waiver from the Department of Standards and Field to build it on floodplain. Straightforward.
Marty?
Call the question.
Second.
Susan seconds, okay. Please go ahead and mark your digital ballot.
There you go.
Do you have a report, Majette?
Actually, I will waive my report, but I'll invite folks to attend our next land use workshop meeting on January 22nd, in which we will hear from ETC on a number of exciting projects that are coming. We are curious to hear from folks who haven't yet weighed in on major developments that are coming on First Avenue for life sciences. We've heard from EDC, and we have our 2 fellows who will come introduce themselves and talk about the projects they're working on, some exciting research projects for our district. So January 22nd, 6:30 at the office. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we have Environment and Parks. Neil Barkley is the chair.
Marty's going to, we're just going to do the resolution. Marty will take care of it.
Okay, Marty.
Well, you heard from you have been somewhat active on the board. Her husband was as chair of this board, Claude, for many years. He was very active. Some of you don't know Lou. The last few years, his illness was really getting to him, but finally killed him in September. Lou has been a member of this board for at least 50 years. The records going back before that were a little sketchy. There was some rumor that he was on the committee with Andrew Haswell Green in 1998 to make the city a complete city. The FDR Drive had been under construction for many, many years for Liz. The area between 63rd Street and 54th Street required a roadway to be built on the over the water so they could correct the FDR that goes under what's called the Sutton Tunnel. That's in 60th Street and 54th Street. So they built this outer roadway called the Outboard Road Detour Road. And this was in 2003, they started the construction. And Lou, I noticed that this roadway looked like it would be a great opportunity for the continuation of the East Side Esplanade. And at that time, he contacted Senator Liz Kruger and many other people. And eventually they put together about $197 million to do it, and it's done. There's still actually one piece left, which is underneath the bridge, which might become a museum or something, but the part of it in CB6's area from 54th Street through 59th Street, I feel that it would be appropriate to name it after a individual who was so part of Community Board 6. He was the chair in the mid-90s. He chaired most of the committees over the course of time. I do have to say that the last time we tried to have the Parks Department name something, this was towards the end of the 90s. It was for a guy named Jeff Stoll, who attempted to and was successful in getting the area across the street from his house, which was at 59th Street, filled in and fenced around because there was a big hole there. This is where Trader Joe's is and TJ Maxx. That was an empty lot with a 40-foot hole that lasted a couple of years without any protection. Anyway, we petitioned the Parks Department to do it, and so they named it Three Oaks Park. Honey Locust Park. So by trying at this point in time to get this portion of the East Midtown Greenway named after Lou, and Liz Kruger has put her name on this, and there's several other electeds who said that they're interested in this. Will be a start.
Question. Yeah. Jim has the microphone. Sorry.
I move to adopt by acclamation.
Second.
So Robert's rules for that. That's okay. I'm.
They used to mark your ballot here.
Oh, okay. All right. Apparently we still do mark our ballots in this case. So please go ahead and mark your digital ballot. And I'm sorry, Larry or Kyle. Okay. Yes, so please go ahead and mark your ballot. Do we have a report from the Environment and Parks? We're going to wait. Okay, great. Thank you. And next up, we have Business Affairs and Licensing with Claire Brennan as the chair.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Great. We can probably bundle the first two if someone wants to, or if there are any questions here.
Yes, we've had someone asked to bundle 3A and 3B. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we vote to bundle? We have to vote to bundle? No. Okay, we can do that by show of hands, please. All those in favor of bundling? Okay, opposed? Thank you, we will bundle. So please mark your vote on your digital ballot for 3A and 3B. Bundling in letters. We have it.
say we could bundle like the next 4.
So C, D, E, and F.
C, D, E, and F.
Kyle,
There.
will second that. Okay. Do we have a show of hands for all those in favor of bundling C, D, E, and F? Opposed? Staying? Okay, please go ahead and mark your digital ballots.
By way of report, I'll keep it brief. I just want to thank the committee and the board office for continuing to be patient and asking great questions and pushing OCM and these applicants, you know, to respond to our requests. And I think every meeting, we're getting to a better and better place with this. Other than that, sorry, I can't be there in person tonight, but good to see those of you who I can see.
And I'm sorry, we do have one extra reso that was a late addition.
Oh, right.
This was sort of a last minute addition. We'd like to vote on that one.
So Jesus, are you able to give a brief?
If you'd like, if you'd like to give me the floor, yes.
I'll give you the floor. Thank you.
All right. Long story short, there was an applicant that sent in their 30-day notice. We informed them that we'd like them to fill out the routine questionnaire that the Business Affairs and Licensing Committee asks that its liquor license applicants to fill out. We didn't hear anything back. We followed up. They said that, I'm in the hospital. Can we push this to next month and fill it out then? Fine. And then we didn't hear back. We didn't follow up before the holidays because we wanted to give them a little bit of a breathing space. And then we get, now this morning we hear they've applied, they're coming up within 2 weeks, so we need to give them a resolution. And no questionnaire was ever filled out. We didn't invite them to the committee because they didn't fill out the questionnaire. We thought they were in the hospital, like they said. So essentially, if we just found out this morning, so the options were to just do nothing or to pass a negative resolution since full board was already tonight and introduce it from the floor. So that's why this resolution is before you right now.
What is it for?
It is a resolution objecting to an on-premises liquor license for Lele's NYC LLC doing business as not yet determined at 237 Madison Avenue. This will go into the SLA, part of their file for their 500-foot hearing.
And to just give a little more info on the resolution of objection, you know, we have a lot of people who do apply for these things are much more responsive and do come to us, do fill out the forms, and that just was not the case with this applicant. So besides that, and
I'm not even sure we're commenting on their intentions. I don't know if they intended to not fill it out and not come to us, but for all intents and purposes, this is what has happened. And the options available to the board, especially given the timeline of meetings, is you either pass a resolution saying something tonight, or you effectively say nothing.
Before we call the question, I'd like to inquire whether there's any representative entity that came to the meeting or is someone.
No, again, this came about, the notice that this resolution was due. We have 2 weeks to give it to the SLA, but that notice just came this morning. And so we only got to it, given that it's a busy day, given it's full board day, we only got to it around the afternoon, at which time I immediately informed Sandy and Claire. So we haven't had time to invite anybody.
Oh, that's
Change.
Please,
I was gonna make a recommendation that we follow suit, as we normally do and actually reference the entity or applicant in the body of the resolution. There's no reference to, that is other than the subject line.
The applicant?
As in the
It just
entity?
says, it just says the applicant in line 10. It
Yeah.
Normally
So we
we
should
say
just-
the applicant being
Their
the name of the person or the entity that they're representing.
Yeah, typically when when we have one of these resos, the applicant has shown up, so there's a name to put there. We'll put there, I mean, I didn't know whether we should mention, we've been interacting with the lawyer. I didn't know whether we should call that person out by name, so we'll put the corporate entity here, whereas the applicant Lele's NYC LLC was asked to submit a questionnaire, blah, blah, blah.
Jim had a question, or?
This says, is it related to this current resolution? I'm talking about with respect to. This isn't with respect to this particular resolution, but I have questions with respect to certain others of the resolutions in this packet for this committee.
Can we maybe finish this?
Should I
Yeah,
speak to them now or?
Yes, let's finish this, please. I think we had someone call the question. Do we have someone to second that? Marty, second. Please go ahead and mark your digital ballot. And Jim, we've completed voting.
Yeah, I have two questions. What is a micro business? That was the first question, and then I have a comment with respect to the others.
Claire, are you
Yeah.
able to answer the micro business?
Yes, what's a micro business? Okay, that is where, and Jesus, add anything that I'm missing, but where the owners or operators can also grow their own plants. So they are allowed to outsource and get stuff from others, but they have the ability to grow on premises and kind of
Those plants?
Yes, yes.
Cannabis plants, right,
cannabis plants, yes.
right.
Or near their premises.
Just for the record, given the proliferation of illegal and unlicensed cannabis shops in our community district, and there are several. I'm opposing all of the legal cannabis shops as leverage to get the authorities to enforce the law against the illegal shops. And I would urge my fellow board members to do the same. When this legislation was passed, we were assured that it would only be legal cannabis, that it would be well regulated, and it certainly has not been. So I will not pass any legal cannabis or support any legal cannabis until we see enforcement against the illegal shops. There was talk some time ago about finding the landlords of these shops, and that has been, I've seen nothing happening with that. I presume that Revney it likes the money that's coming in from those illegal shops, but it has to stop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Marty?
Has the committee developed guidelines for cannabis shops, and those guidelines then should be presented to the board for full vote?
We're working on them. If we did, obviously, we would share with the board, but we're still working on those as a committee.
And definitely there are laws that dictate certain, aspects of what the shops are allowed to do.
In the past, we've had stricter regulations on different things, like for instance, the sidewalk cafes, where the city allows 8 feet variant, and we would say it has to be 10 feet. So
Yeah, I think you brought this up last time. We are working on them. So thanks for the reminder.
Report?
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Next, we have Rich Mintz, Chair of Housing and Homelessness.
Thank you, yes. So we have two resolutions to present this month. Which one is first? First is right to counsel for persons facing eviction in court. We already have a right to counsel law in New York City, which has helped keep hundreds of households in their homes. There is legislation proposed at the state level which will extend the same protections to people elsewhere in the state. The operative fact is that people who go to housing court without representation very frequently make procedural errors that result in a summary dismissal or summary ruling in favor of the other side, and they have to move. So our resolution supports this statewide legislation.
Kevin?
Call the question.
So question has been called by Kevin.
And seconded by Kyle. So please go ahead and mark your digital ballot.
The second resolution today is a resolution urging the city to preserve the right to shelter mandate, which as basic background is a right established by a consent decree between the city and the court like 30 years ago, probably longer. The underlying concept is that the New York State Constitution obliges the city to provide a bed to anyone who presents himself and needs one. It's a matter of public safety in a city that has harsh winters to make sure that people don't have to sleep on the street. The mayor is advocating for eliminating this. I'm not sure how that would happen given the constitutional basis, but he is pressing to eliminate it for cost reasons. And we would like to join a wide range of stakeholders in maintaining that right to shelter.
Are there any questions?
Call the question.
Okay, Susan and Kyle seconds.
Thank you.
Please go ahead and mark your digital ballot. And while people are doing that, do you have our report?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Next, for transportation, we have our new chair, Jason Fromholz.
Yeah, so first up, we have a resolution for a proposed bus stop on First Avenue between 38th and Street. It's going to be a private bus service transporting people to and from Boston from the east side. Any questions?
And
Yeah, is that where the N15 stop?
It's south of the N15. It's currently an existing bus stop, but it's currently serving other at least one other company. Yeah.
Yeah. Committee, so.
Oh, yes, part of the resolution, we were asking for an update on the sign. It's outdated in terms of the different companies that operate there. I just wanted to point out quickly, there was an update on some of the verbiage and the whereas clauses, between when it was posted to the Airtable and when the resolution was distributed in the packet distribution is up to date. We were modifying just some of the details around the logistics of the slot.
So just a quick question on whether DOT commented on the issue of lighting there. I know we brought it up last time, there was a similar case. And these ones are supposed to be there 50 minutes, so they end up staying for longer. It creates a really dangerous, that entire sidewalk from 38 to 39 or just the street there. So I wonder if DOT commented on fixing conditions and putting light there.
We didn't talk about lighting, we did discuss shelter, which I guess may have been a part of that. We decided not to comment on, not to ask for shelter, given the pending development in that area.
We had asked them to, because it's been a bad connection.
Eric, do you want to?
Actually, just a similar question. That area is not well developed, and it's
I think, a problem for the community. So is there any conversation about how these private businesses are looking to improve that space in conjunction with DOT in the city?
In regards to bus service and
Yeah, the bus service, that area is, there's poor lighting, the sidewalk isn't redone there, it's really difficult to pass up and down.
Yeah, so ultimately, my understanding is it would be incumbent on the DOT to install lighting, not on the carriers. I will note specifically for this operator, appreciate some of the concerns about the site, but they'll be providing bus service to Boston up to three times a day. That doesn't exist on the east side, so it does serve a public service to our community to provide service to Boston from the east side. We have one courier, Larry, that's right.
Yes. Presently, there is lighting there. Prior to the committee meeting, I visited the bus stop, photographed the sign, and there was adequate light in my judgment from the street lights. There was also, however, a bus that was in the bus stop, laying over illegally. And one thing that wasn't mentioned in the resolution was that the operator indicated that boarding the bus would take approximately 15 minutes, and that they also expected that passengers who would be taking the bus would be there at least 15 minutes in advance. Given that there's no shelter, given that there's a very open, windswept area without any kind of protection from the elements, I raised the issue of whether we could have shelter for non-Port Authority bus stops in general. We'll take it up at a future date.
Cut. Oh, all right, you let Eric go first one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, that particular area, because I live across the street from it, is also part of the Soloviev development, which we've been talking about for many, many years. So, maybe instead of a light show, they could put up some lights over there. But definitely something that we can bring up at so as well, because that is part of their responsibility to the pavement and like.
Just a quick item, but it's a thanks.
Oh, and I was also just gonna add, I think there's a lot of construction on First Avenue there, at least when you're driving up the road. So I'm just curious if in the short term, when that construction's going to conclude, because it's a tight place and creates a lot of traffic.
I think you're referring to the construction on 38th Street, 38th and First, just in the road. Yeah, it's actually just south of the bus stop, and we don't. They came to present to the Transportation Committee a couple months ago. It should be isolated just to that area on 38th Street. What's happening there is there's a temporary imaging machine for NYU that's set up there. So they're not actually constructing anything on the sidewalk of the roadway. They just needed space to put this. I think it's the CT machine in order to replace the CT machine they have inside. So that should be an issue for the operation of the bus stop, but it should be expanding as well.
Okay, do we have
I take the bus to Boston all the time, and before the pandemic, I used to take it from there. And the shelter, I mean, the other bus stops on the west side in Hudson Yards is the same. There's not that much lighting. There's no shelter. If it's raining, you're just there. And there's so many of them around the city, like down in Chinatown. So, but for those of us who need to go see our parents, it's really great to have that option.
Marty? Great, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, and we'll trade it up this time. All right, please go ahead and mark your digital ballot. And while people are doing that, do you have a report for us?
I do have a report. So first I wanted to thank Brian for being on the Transportation Committee for a very long time. Thank you for all his contributions, wishing well. This month we discussed Sammy's Law, and there's a brief update on that. Governor Hochul in her State of the Stage address did bring up her brought up her support for passing Sammy's Law in her budget this year. And we had previously passed a resolution in support of Sammy's Law, so we're hoping to see that continue through. Next month, we will be discussing congestion pricing. Briefly on that, the MTA recently released the details of the tolling structure for congestion pricing. Details of that are on the MTA website, I'm not going to go into those here. And we'll be talking more about that and potentially making some recommendations about that in our meeting next month. That's all.
Great, thank you. Next, our new Youth and Education Chair, John Darico.
Hey everyone, this is gonna be short and now it's even longer. It was going to be short and sweet. I'm thrilled to serve as the new Chair of Youth and Education. Big shoes to fill from John. It's a very, very brief update. I'm going to send an email about this, but in lieu of the January meeting, we're going to schedule individual meetings with all committee members to discuss your hopes, your dreams, the upcoming year in youth and education. Beyond that, big areas of focus are migrant children in public schools and mental health in schools. We're really looking forward to digging in on that in the next year. Other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Health and Human Services, LV Barroso.
I read my report, but I have an announcement to make. On February 8th, we will have a joint meeting with CB2 and possibly CB3 about MSBI closure. And we will have a speaker from MSBI. We are also trying to get a speaker from the state. But if you have any questions that you wanted to be addressed in that meeting, we are putting together those questions. So you can email either me or Brendan, and we will give those questions to the MSBI speaker ahead of time.
Great, thank you. Our new chair of the Budget and Governmental Affairs Committee, Nad Kalani. And I believe that he's going to be joined.
Yeah, so, Happy New Year, everybody, and I am stepping down as Chair of Budget and Governmental Affairs, and Nad is taking over. And thanks to so many people who reached out about that, I am staying on the board, staying on the committee. We had a lot of discussions about leadership this past year, and it got me thinking about how we need to cultivate leadership better on this board. And prior chairs staying on and helping new chairs, I think will be one of the ways of doing that. And I got more engaged once I became chair. It's a great learning experience, and I would want everybody at some point to be chair of a committee to become more engaged with this board. So, and Nat is amazing as vice chair.
Hey everybody, I'm the new chair. Thank you to Reshma for all the help and support, especially when I became vice chair. I was learning a lot of the rules around how to approach a lot of things. I think one big thing for us this year as budget is just really figuring out how to continue to improve the budget process. Of working with all of you to get your insights into that budget plan that we always put through every year. That's one thing we're going to be talking about in the next couple of months, is just how to make that process more effective and engaging. So we get all of you involved, all your voices heard when we do submit that.
Great, thank you very much. Next up is Public Safety. Matt Roberts is chair.
All right, just a couple of announcements for public safety coming up. We have a busy meeting next week, next Thursday. We'll be continuing our discussion on hate crimes legislation, which we had the district attorney's office last month, some committee questions, and we'll get some clarity from the attorneys as to what the real life implications would be there. Second, we will hear from NYPD commanders in the 13th and 17th precincts. They'll be briefing the committee on everything going on as far as crime. Next, we will cover the illegal cannabis shops and why they're still operating. We're going to try to dig into that a little bit. I know there's a lot of questions, a lot of different legal opinions there, so we'll see how far we can get there. And then we'll also look at the police accountability intro that's controversial in the city council, and see if this committee has any statements on that. So that's next month, and then in February, we will try to tackle shoplifting once again and get some clarity on what's been done since we last took that issue up 2 years ago. That is it.
Great, thank you. Next, we have old and new business. Board members, if you have any old and new business to state, please raise your hand. Marty?
This last month, I went on this website called Nextdoor. It's been around for a long, long time. I identified I had answered a couple of questions that people had, and someone said, you know so much about the community board, are you on the community board? And I said, yes. How come nobody knows about what the community board does, or is, or what, can't you send out a mailing? And, I explained that there's a lot of ways to connect with the community board, but maybe we should look to, do some more outreach in some areas. Like I mentioned, there's places where, our agendas are put, on buildings and things, and, all the board meetings, whatever. Granted, there's a lot of nonsense on it. I mean, there are people who have such negativity that there's nothing that could answer them. But, maybe we should be a little bit more flexible there.
Maybe that we need to have a working group for that, because people that are interested in technology and spreading our word, it's a great way, any way we can do it, it's certainly doable. So anybody who would like to be involved, please approach us after. And I guess, Jim, did you have your hand up?
Just with respect to what's happening with Beth Israel Hospital, we had a working group to address what would happen if they did abandon it, because the plans, as you remember, were all set. They were going to abandon it. And we had plans we had a working group to address the future use of that facility. I think perhaps as a contingency, we should reestablish such a committee.
Actually, I was on that committee, so, and there was a report that was generated. So certainly if there is a decision to close MSBI, we were already sort of ahead of the game a little bit. I think everyone's hoping it's not closed, so, but we do have that available if there is a closure. Are there any other things? I'm hoping everybody can make it January the 19th. Tudor City, 5 Tudor City, around 6, I think we said 6 o'clock. Everyone is welcome, bring friends, and it's a chance to get to know, bring your name tag, get to know people better. Okay. We will have food and we will have some booze. No, we'll have beverages. We can't say we don't buy booze, but so yes, I'm sure it will be well provided for. All right, Brendan will conduct the second roll call.
Okay, and just before starting the second roll call, I should note that there are a few members who have not submitted their ballots yet, so please submit your ballots. If I get to your name during the second roll call and you haven't submitted your ballot yet, I will remind you to submit your ballot. I'll go in reverse alphabetical order. Haider Saidi.
Present.
Okay. Matthew Weintraub. Matthew Weintraub. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Gabe Terzo. Mark Thompson.
Present.
Susan Steinberg. Letty Simon.
Present.
Lydia Trednick. Sandra Sherrod.
Yo.
Ann Sullivan. Larry Shire.
Present.
Roberto Ruiz Melendez.
Present.
And don't forget to submit your ballot. Matt Roberts. Miriam Rowe. Stephen Perez. Reshma Patel. Steve O.
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe. Raj Nayar.
Present.
Rich Mintz.
Present.
Sandy McKee.
Present.
Also not very soon.
Oh, sorry. I was busy.
Yep. You were very busy. David Lowenstein. Sandra Lepto. Abigail Cruzmark.
He missed you.
Ed Kalani.
He missed you.
John Keller. Rupal Pakai. H. Judge.
Present.
Gerald Jones. Here. Eric Goldberg.
Present.
Jason Cromowitz.
Present.
Barack Friedman.
Present.
Pete Isman.
Present.
Mike Devereaux. Is not here. Stu Nesser.
Here.
John DeRico.
Present.
Jim Collins.
Yeah.
Heather Brennan.
Present.
Ellie Caroso. Marty Barrett.
Present.
Neil Hartley. Kyle Levi. And Majed Abdul-Samad. Okay, let me just quickly make sure that everyone has submitted their ballot.
Brendan, did you call Anton?
Mark?
You're off the board. I'm sorry you had to find out this way.
I did mark the one next to you, and so I did talk you with present. Anyway, so I see everyone has submitted their ballots, so I'm going to announce the results of tonight's resolutions. Land use and waterfront, 1A, 39 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Land use and waterfront, 1B, 41 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, and 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Land use and waterfront, 1C, 41 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Environment and Parks 2A, 40 in favor, 0 opposed, 0 abstentions, 1 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3A, 40 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3B, 40 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3C, 37 in favor, 1 opposed, 3 abstentions, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3D, 36 in favor, 2 opposed, 3 abstentions, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3E, 36 in favor, 1 opposed, 4 abstentions, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3F, 35 in favor, 2 opposed, 4 abstentions, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. Business Affairs and Licensing 3G, 40 in favor, 1 opposed, 0 abstentions, 0 not entitled. That passes. Housing and Homelessness 4A, 41 in favor, nobody opposed, abstaining or not entitled. That resolution passes. Housing and Homelessness 4B, 37 in favor, 4 opposed, 1 abstention, 0 not entitled. That resolution passes. And last but not least, Transportation 5A, 37 in favor, 3 opposed, no abstentions, 1 not entitled. That resolution passes. And that is it.
If there are no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting.